Hello, my name is Doug Ruderman from the New York State Office of Mental Health, and I'm joined by Peggy Noonan from the New York State Department of Health, and Caitlin Stein-Miner, also from the New York State Office of Mental Health. And we're here today to talk to you about an important topic, and that is Medicaid transitioning from the Legacy Welfare Management System, WMS, to the New York State of Health for certain individuals that you serve, and what your role as a case manager will be in helping to ensure a smooth transition. Okay, so as an overview, what we're hoping to cover today is a little bit of the information specifically about the transition from WMS to New York State of Health, what the timeline of that transition will be, and some information regarding Medicaid enrollment and recertification, and of course, your role as a health home care manager in assisting in this process. And I'm going to turn it over to Peggy now.
Thanks, Doug. Beginning in January of 2014, Medicaid eligibility across New York State began to transition from the local Department of Social Services and the Human Resources Administration to New York State of Health for most enrollees who are not aged, blind, or disabled. For the first time, some HARP members will be impacted by this. Enrollees who do not successfully complete the transition from WMS to New York State of Health risk loss of Medicaid and access to services. So what's changing? Some HARP enrollees who previously recertified for Medicaid using the WMS process, which involved their local Department of Social Services or Human Resource Administration, will now be required to recertify using the New York State of Health process, which is New York State's new online eligibility and enrollment system. HARP enrollees selected will transition from WMS to New York State of Health on their recertification date for Medicaid. It's expected that the transitions will occur in 2019 and 2020, though some may transition at a later date. In New York City, HARP enrollees living in Manhattan with a September 1st, 2019 recertification date will be the first to transition to New York State of Health. For Upstate and Long Island, the first HARP enrollees transition to New York State of Health as of May 1st, 2019. So this is how the process will work. Approximately 3 to 4 months prior to the recert date, recipients will receive a letter informing them that they will receive their Medicaid coverage through New York State of Health from now on. For an example, those folks that had a recertification date of September 1st would have received a letter from WMS or the local Department of Social Services in May if they lived in New York City, or June if they lived elsewhere. So once the process moves to New York State of Health, approximately 2 months prior to the recert date, New York State of Health will send members a second notice with specific details about the process for renewing on New York State of Health. It's important to note that this envelope will look different than what the enrollees are used to seeing for Medicaid. This letter will include information on how to renew and when, and login information specific to the enrollee is found on this letter. We're going to show you an example of what the letter would look like.
Okay, this is Caitlin. I'm showing you the letter that the individuals you work with would receive. It has on here who the action is required for, so that's anybody in the household that is signed up through WMS that is affected by this. Down here we have the case status. In that you'll see that there is where the coverage end date is. That's the recertification date. There is an account number here that is important to note. Right here it tells you when you must log on by in order to ensure that you are transitioning. So that is February 15th for this individual. And here is the invitation code that must be used when they're signing into the NYSOH. On the second page, there's more detailed information in order to help them be able to log on accurately. The first thing you note is that you need to have a NYSOH.gov ID in order to log in to New York State of Health. So the individual would need to set up a NYSOH.gov ID in order to log in. Once they're trying to log in, they're going to be using this invitation code in order to access. Accessing this login code, this invitation code, will allow them to access an account, their account that has already been set up for them. The rest of this explains that this is a Medicaid recertification that is like the same that they had done in the past. All right, I'll send it back to you.
So as Caitlin showed the instructions, people can renew directly by themselves online or on the phone with New York State of Health, or even receive in-person assistance. We'll show you more detailed information on this later in the presentation.
Thank you. So now I'm just going to talk a little bit about Medicaid recertification and what you as a case manager might be able to do to assist. A health home case manager should be aware of an enrollee's recertification date and begin asking the enrollee if he or she has received the letter from WMS. Remember that this will be approximately 3 months prior to their Medicaid recertification date. Once they have received the WMS letter, they can expect to receive the New York State of Health letter approximately 1 to 2 months later. That New York State of Health letter is the one that I just showed you. If the individual is unaware of the recertification date, the managed care organization or the plan may be able to help you assist with this. For your members who are HARP members, and that is specific to what we are focused in today, every HARP member, every health and recovery plan, has a case management function to assist members. The matrix that McTAC holds, I'm going to go right to that, allows you to look up contact information for all the Medicaid managed care plans in New York State. This is the map that is found on the matrix. You would simply select your area. So in this case, I'm going to select Capital District. Then you would select the plan that your individual is connected with. This is all the tabs up above here. You're going to be in the General tab. You're going to scroll down until you have the Case Management Contact, and you're going to want to call the Behavioral Health Case Management Contact number that is found. Doing so will allow you to connect with somebody who can help with connecting that member to what they need, resources to maintain their connection with that health insurance plan. The managed care organization will know approximately 3 months prior if the individual is expected to transition to New York State of Health. And also I want to mention that New York State of Health is able to assist members with enrollment over the phone. All right, I'm going to pass it back over to you, Doug.
Sure. So I'm going to talk just for a moment about PSYCKES. I'm going to let everybody know that the PSYCKES, which stands for Psychiatric Services and Clinical Knowledge Enhancement System, is probably a system that your agency, if not yourselves, have used in the past. There's a lot of wonderful information that can assist you in doing your work that can be found in PSYCKES, and what we're hoping to build is an alert in that system that will indicate if an enrollee is transitioning to New York State of Health. It is not live yet. When it does become live, we will let you know, but at this time I just wanted to make you aware that we're trying to build this tool to help you so that you can help others in this process. We're not exactly sure, the second bullet, locate an existing location. I don't know if it's going to be in that exact location. We're going to eliminate that bullet, but you know what happens in different versions. Sometimes bullets that you got rid of reappear, like magic. Okay.
Yeah, so that is where we anticipate it being located.
Yes.
And I do also want to point out that this alert at this time is specific for a HARP enrollee who would be transitioning to New York State of Health. Yes. We don't have that stated up there, but I want to make sure to make that clear.
Thank you. And now, important, what things are important. The reason why this is so important, is that we want people to maintain their Medicaid eligibility for any number of different reasons that I'll go through. The first thing that you need to do in order to maintain your Medicaid eligibility is you need to receive those letters. And in order to receive those letters, there has to be an accurate mailing address in the person's file with Medicaid. When the person is still enrolled with WMS, and this goes back to that timing thing that Peggy talked about in earlier slides, you can always update, as you always have updated, help people to update their address in the WMS system. But once the case has been transitioned to NYSOH, you can no longer update the address in the WMS system. You have to update it in the NYSOH system as that letter had indicated. Members can update their address. You can call the number that's shown here, 1-855-355-5777, by contacting New York State of Health, and you can let them know that you're updating your address. And failing to report a change in address, as I said, it may result in a gap in coverage, which we don't want to happen. The other things that are important, in addition to services being interrupted, is your agency that's getting paid for you to provide case management services to this person won't get paid to provide these services if Medicaid eligibility is interrupted. So it's going to be important for the financial health of your agency that people maintain their eligibility, and even more so if this individual is also participating in other services that your agency may provide. So we want to make sure that people continue to get the services that they need and are benefiting from, and we want to make sure that your agency continues to receive revenue for providing those services in good faith. I'm going to hand it back over to Caitlin.
Okay, so to wrap up, I want to reiterate the things that we've talked about in here and go into a little bit more detail about the New York State of Health, how to access an in-person assister. So to prevent the disenrollment from Medicaid, upon receipt of the New York State of Health letter, the enrollee should log on to New York State of Health account using the information provided, or they can call the New York State of Health to receive assistance with the enrollment process, or as I'm just stated, they can access an in-person assister from enrollment navigators by visiting New York State of Health. I'm going to do that now so I can show you how to locate that information. So you come to the New York State of Health page. At the top, go to the Get Help, select IPA Navigator Site Locations. From there, select the This Online directory. This brings you to a search tool that will allow you to find a navigator in your area. Here's the search tool. I recommend that you put in the counties that you want, that the individual lives in, and select the navigator and the type of agent that you're looking for. When you do that, you'll see a list of folks who are navigators who can assist, their contact information, both email and phone number, and the agency that they're affiliated with. You can see that there are 17 that are in Albany that are navigators, and these are folks that can assist with in-person help to be able to enroll. At this time, I want to thank you all for joining us for this webinar, for tuning in and listening to this. We do hope that it will be helpful in your role as a case manager and in helping to ensure that individuals you serve continue their Medicaid eligibility. We want you to pay particular attention to those HARP members who may need assistance in this transition. Thank you.